What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Ordonez Method podcast, where we talk about how to get ahead financially as a young person. I'm here with my partner, Camilla.
Hi, guys.
Camilla, can you talk to our listeners about, just give them a brief introduction of what we'll be talking about today?
Yeah, so on one of our earlier podcasts, we got like a note and it was kind of just asking us like where do you guys get the money to do your different real estate projects and how can I as a young person get money to fund my goals and start off. So, we're going to be talking a whole lot about that, and the main two ways that we're going to be talking about is getting money from investors and then getting money from the bank, which is what we do. So, we're going to do different segments, and this isn't going to be too long. We're just going over the basics, but it's going to be more of a Q&A type style since my brother has more experience with getting funds. So, yeah, the first segment that we're going to go over, segment 1, is going to be the fundamentals of real estate financing. So, when we're talking about getting money from investors and getting money from the bank, what do the investors in the bank want in return? That's what you have to think about. So, when you're getting money from an investor, they're usually going to want equity, or they're going to want an exchange or share of profits. And then when you're getting money from the bank, obviously there's going to be interest rates and different terms that you're going to have to go by. So, do you have any other input on that?
Yeah, so like you said, when you're raising money, you're gonna want to just keep in mind that people aren't investing in you in most cases. They're investing in your business and they're investing in what you can do for them, not what necessarily what they're doing for you. So, unless it's you're getting it from a parent or a friend, if you're getting money from a real investor or a real bank, they want to make money at the end. So they give you $100,000, they're gonna want some return on that. And this can be through different ways. So with a bank, it's generally you're paying interest, like Camilla said. If you have investors, they may want a piece of the company, which we like to refer to as equity. So equity means you're giving them ownership in the company. Or they could also be debt investors, where you're giving them a percentage back of their own money that they invested. So either way works. There's ways to get creative. When you hear about creative financing, there's ways to get creative about how to finance your deals, how to raise money. But at the end of the day, you have to keep in mind that the deal, the actual project that you're doing is the most important part, because if the deal is not making money, then you're not going to be able to pay your investors back. In this business, your reputation is key. So if you build a bad reputation by not being able to pay your investors back, then it's going to be much harder for you to do this moving forward.
Yeah. So now we're gonna dive into segment 2, which is how we're gonna get money from investors and raising money from investors and different things that will help you. So, what do you think is the key to attracting an investor to invest in your business?
Let me turn around back to you. And you probably weren't expecting this, but what do you think is important?
Well, I think that
If you were gonna loan money to me, what are you looking for? What's important?
I I would want to see like a specific plan and projected like return, obviously, to see if like what I'm investing in is like legit and like you're not just throwing my money around, because obviously unless like when you're starting out, you're probably not going to have investors that are like crazy rich. So like obviously their money is very valuable. So if I was going to invest, I would want to see a specific business plan with what you're going to do with my money and how long I'm going to wait to get my money back or what I'm going to get in return, different things like that.
That's a great answer, and it's pretty accurate too. The crowd that we're kind of catering to is younger, is starting out, so in your case, in your scenario, you're probably not going to have, in order to get investors at a certain level, you're going to need to have some sort of reputation. You know, you're a reputable business person, a reputable real estate developer. And so just your name and being associated with your deals, for example, like say Grant Cardone, he's just, a lot of people know who he is. He's going to get investors just because he has a reputation, you know, for doing real estate. He's out there. But if you're Camilo Ordonez, if you're Don Ordonez, how are you going to get an investor? So like Camilla said, you want a plan and you want to develop a plan that looks good on paper, but also is in the right space. For example, if you're going to do commercial, like a big commercial project where you're going to, you know, maybe build a building and you're going to rent it out to a small restaurant, it's going to depend where the business is located, right? So you don't want to pitch a deal where there's no demand. No investor is going to want to invest somewhere where there's no demand. Now, if you're pitching that same restaurant at a place where there's no restaurants, a lot of people are moving in, there's a lack of dining options, that's going to be a good deal. That's going to be something that looks good to an investor. And it's like, okay, like even if this person doesn't really know what they're doing, or even if I don't trust them fully, I can still give them my money because the deal looks so good and it looks like it's going to work out. They're still, I know that they're going to be able to pay me back, right? Because investors are always thinking about their money. Okay. Like how much am I going to make? How much can I lose? So you want to make you have to make them think and believe in you that you can make them more money, you know, where they have a higher chance of making money than of losing money. So yeah, like a good plan is very important. I think when you're starting out, you really need to use your network. You're not gonna find, it's gonna be pretty hard to find investors, you know, just by going out and talking to them. You're gonna have to build some sort of relationship. So, you know, people say go out and network, go to networking events. That could work, yeah, especially if you're very extroverted. Somebody like me, I'm pretty introverted. I'm pretty, you know, I don't go out and talk to other people. I like to talk to my circle. Somebody like me is gonna have a tough time doing that. So really use your network. Like who are your friends? Who are your parents? Who are your coworkers? Who my first investor was one of my old baseball teammates. He was my first investor. And right now he has over $200,000 invested with me, and we're doing a bunch of construction projects. So you never know who your investors could be. But the first thing is to look at your network, because the people close to you are going to invest in you, not because of the deal, but because they believe, you know, if you're a good person, they're going to want to help you out. So
Yeah, and also with that, again, you want to know who you're surrounding yourself by and like have people that are either motivated with you or want to support you in that way. And if you're introverted, obviously that's going to be one way that in getting an investor will work. And another aspect, if you're an extrovert and you are networking, if you don't necessarily know someone really well, but you're talking to them about your plan and stuff, and they are really interested in what you're doing, like creatively, then they're going to want to invest with you and get to know you better. So everyone can really do this if you try, and it obviously it's going to take you like some tries and you're going to fail sometimes, but yeah.
one thing, can I add
Now,
one thing to that?
yeah, yeah,
It's
go
very
ahead.
important to just always talk about what you're doing, because
Yeah.
that's, you know, you could be around your network or other people. If you always talk about what you're doing, then you're gonna increase your chances of finding those investors. I have an example when I used to give baseball lessons, and you know, I would do the baseball lesson and I would talk to the parents when they came to pick up the kids. Eventually, I ended up coaching like a youth team. I would talk to the parents, and I ended up coaching with another coach. He wasn't one of the parents, but he was a coach there. And he asked me like, what do you actually do for a living? You know, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I build houses. And he's like, man, that sounds like a great deal. Like, send me like your business plan. Like, I would be interested in investing in you, or with you. So yeah, so I sent him the plan. He knew me. He knew that I was a good coach and I was a good person and I was responsible. He's like, yeah, here you go. And give me $100,000. And so she's still my investor. So it's important to just always talk about it so people know what you do. It just increases the chances.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily need to be introverted or extroverted. It's just about having a business plan that's going to work and having their money work for them. So now going into the third segment, getting bank loans. I'm not super familiar with banking and stuff. So do you want to kind of take over and tell me like the process of that for houses at
Yeah.
least?
So with bank loans, it just okay. So I'll go back to kind of first principles when you're doing a deal, like the most basic principles. You're gonna need money to buy. If you're doing a real estate deal, this is what we're talking about here. You're gonna need to buy the property, and you're gonna need to fund. You're gonna need to funds. Here's the funds that you need, the money that you need. You need funds for the property. If you're doing a construction, you're gonna need the funds to buy the lot, and you're also gonna need the funds to do the building, the construction. Okay, so you could either have that all in your pockets if you're rich. You can come up with $500,000, say, here, build me the house. But most of us, we don't have that kind of money sitting in the bank, so we have to finance it, right? We have to ask for money. We have to fund the project somehow. So this is going to be a combination of your money, the investor's money, and the bank's money. Okay. And the good thing about real estate is that banks will lend you 75% of the project, 80% of the project sometimes. And if your project is good, if the numbers are good, when you sell it, you're going to be able to pay the bank back, you're going to be able to pay the investor back, and you're going to be able to pay yourself back and have some profit on top, right? So that's why it's very important to do underwriting. So we'll cover underwriting at another point, but basically when you're asking banks for loans, they're going to want to look at certain things, right? Like, I mean, it also depends. If you're doing traditional bank loans, when you're buying a regular house, it's going to be a different process than if you're doing construction loans like how we are. So if you're doing a traditional loan, it's going to be pretty hard to get, and you're not going to be able to work and scale. So what that means is that you're not going to be able to get rich off of traditional bank loans, because they're going to look at everything. They're going to look at your income. They're going to look at, which not most of us don't even have income that's on paper, because we don't have jobs. Like I don't have a job, I make on paper like $30,000 a year from my business, what I pay myself. But people that own businesses or are self-employed, they don't have income. So the bank doesn't like that. The bank likes a steady salary. So a traditional bank loan that your mom or your dad or your sister use to go buy a house is not the same type of financing that we're looking for. We're looking for construction loans, hard money loans, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae loans that we can use to purchase this property. And those lenders are going to look at different things depending on the size of the deal. So if you're doing small deals like us right now, we're doing just single family construction, and a lot of you will start out with that. You might want to look for a construction loan, and you might want to use a hard money lender. So these hard money lenders, they're like, think of them as smaller banks. It's more risky, it's higher interest, but they're gonna give you money based on the deal, right? So those you're gonna to get those loans, you're gonna show them the deal. You're gonna say, hey, I have this lot, this property in this address. This is my scope of work, which is basically your budget for your property. It's gonna tell every single line item for the construction. Here's how much the lot clearing is gonna cost. This is how much the plumbing is gonna cost. You're gonna send them all that. They have an underwriting team that basically they confirm like, okay, yeah, this lot is this much in this area. This plumbing costs this much. And so they're going to verify that all the numbers look good on their end. And based on that, they're going to say, okay, we're going to loan you this much money. Okay. And so then with that money, you're going to have to pay this much interest on it. There's going to be other things, there's going to be fees that you're going to have to pay on it besides the interest, but we can get into that later. We're just talking kind of like the broad kind of financing. But when you're starting out, you're going to use these kinds of loans where they're loaning you, and this is what you want to use. Where you're going to be loaned on for the deal. Because if you're going to be loaned for off of your income and off of your credit, you're probably not going to get a loan, right? Like if I try to go get a bank loan right now, traditionally, I probably won't get it, but I can get $20 million of financing for all my construction projects with a hard money loan because all my deals work. Same when you start getting into bigger deals. Let's say you want to do like a small apartment complex or a big one for that case. But you can go to these bigger institutions like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and they're gonna look at this at the deal, but they might also look at other things such as what's your net worth, or for example, like who are your investors, like what's your investors net worth, and based off of that they're going to loan you money. But again, these are loans that are all based off the deal. So if your deal is good, if your deal, we say pencils, if it looks good on paper and they can verify it, you're going to get money from the bank.
So, would you say, starting out for everyone who's listening, would you say that it's easier to get a bank loan or get money from an investor or a combination? What do you think is best, like for people who are just starting out?
I think if you're just starting out, like I said, you're going to need a combination of your money, an investor, and hard money, construction, maybe even a bank if you can get it. Some people have good incomes and they're just starting out and they have good credit and they might be able to get a bank loan, but you're only going to be able to do very few deals like that. But yeah, it's going to have to be a combination of all three in reality. And bank there, it's not that one of them's easier or harder to get. It's just different, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going to be talking to an investor differently than you're going to be talking to a bank. And the same thing, like it's going to be a different process to finding an investor than funding a bank or hard money. I can go online right now and go to Lima One, who's one of our hard money lenders, and call up their number, get with an agent, and then they can, they give me a loan for my deal.
Gotcha. So yeah, I feel like at least for the bank, like for people who haven't been through the process, it might sound like a bunch of just like words being thrown around. So I think it's probably easier once you've gone through it to understand exactly how like the underwriting works and stuff. So we're gonna go through underwriting on a different podcast, which my brother is actually making an app for. So
Yeah,
that'll be
underwriting,
nice.
and underwriting, for those that don't know, what we refer to by underwriting is the budgeting. Like I said, here's how much the plumbing's gonna be. Here's how much the electrical costs are gonna be. Here's how much the interest that we have to pay is gonna be. And you want to make sure that at the end of the day, your total project cost is less than your total profit from it or your total income from it. Because if not, then you're not gonna make money. It's just basically, yeah, it's just doing the budget for it, making sure that it looks good. That's the underwriting.
Yeah. So for our last segment, we kind of already went over this quite a bit. But it's just the power of networking and where you're going to meet these people who might end up being business partners or potential investors, and different resources that you can use. So what has been like the best like resource for you to find people to connect with that might help you with business in the future or that you've already done?
Man, for me, like I said, like I'm very introverted. Social media has been pretty good. If you're constantly putting out stuff like content, kind of like how we are, or if you're following people and you're DMing people, that's a good way to get connected. Then you have to build a relationship with them, which that's a whole nother thing. But you can at least get connected with them. Going to meetups. I'm not a huge fan of going to meetups. We have one coming up. I think it's a little bit different when you're hosting it. But to be
Yeah.
to be fair, I'm young. We're young. There's not gonna be too many meetups where it's gonna be like your crowd. Your investors,
Yeah.
most of them are gonna be older right now. People don't really make money until they're 40. They're in their 40s anyways. So if you're gonna go in person, you're probably gonna run into, it's not gonna be like your scene. But you can connect with a lot of other young people through social media. I mean, through our platform, which we're starting a community where
Yeah,
there's these
for sure.
spaces where people who are like-minded, and some people have good income, some people have money to invest, they're going to be there. So it's get out there, and like I said, use your network and always talk about what you're doing, even if it's like a very like like a little like a name drop, like just like a like hint at it, like yeah, I gotta go check out my properties, something like that, that
Yeah,
lets people know.
personally, I just started going to like courses and events like that last year. And I've been going with my parents, and obviously the crowd is a lot older than me, and it's kind of rare to meet people that are in their 20s going to those types of events right now. But I will say that talking to people that are older, they do give you a lot of advice starting out, and it's nice talking to people that you don't know that are also doing the same type of thing as you, because obviously like your friends are probably doing much different things than you. They might be in college or doing different things. But then when you go to these events and you talk to other people, you're like, wow, like everyone's really like going through all these same problems and stuff. And also like just meeting older people. And then as I grow my business, I can, pitch different business ideas that I have. So I think it's been a really good experience. And I think that our meetup that we're doing, our workshop, is going to be really great to meet new people, even if you just end up finding a couple friends that are in the same realm as you.
Yeah, I
But
mean, it's good to you always increase your chances of getting what you want when you put yourself in situations that cater to that. If you're looking
yeah,
for money and you don't want to put yourself at McDonald's, looking for investors. Uh, you want to put yourself in places where people have money and you're more likely to get to that outcome. So it's just a rule of life. Whenever you want something, you want to put yourself in situations where that whatever you want is more likely to happen. And whether that means sometimes you have to pay for it. Like Camilla said, sometimes you have to pay to go to an event. Sometimes you have to pay a mentor. I'm studying for law school right now. I got a tutor, like I'm paying a lot of money for a tutor. So I've just learned the importance of investing in yourself.
yeah. And also putting yourself in sometimes uncomfortable situations for yourself, especially if you're not into like going out and meeting new people. Just like making yourself do that once, and then talking to people eventually will become easier. But you just have to, especially if you don't have like resources or people that like close to you that are successful in the business, to kind of just put yourself out there and um network as much as you can. But yeah, that was basically all the basics of finding money through investors and banks. And like we were talking about, we do have our workshop in late November. We'd love if you guys would sign up. It's free, which I forgot to mention, but yeah, it is free, and it's not going to be super boring. It's going to be more casual. You'll meet a lot of people, and we're really excited for it. Do you have anything else to say?
We're very excited. I just had a thought. Like, there's so many young people out there, and I feel like the world is kind of in a period of transition. There's so much, especially in America and the United States. There's so much transition. Like, there's so many opportunities online. There's so many like different problems that are going on, and it's just hard. It's just easy to get lost as a young person. Like, do I go to school? Do I start my business? Do I listen to this podcast? Do I go to these events? Like at the end of the day, like you only get one chance at this. And so just tinker around. That's one thing I've always kind of believed. Just tinker around, play around with it. If you like it, keep doing it. If you don't, then don't keep doing it. If it's hard, then it's probably a good thing because that means that it'll be worth it in the end. So, it's there's no right path to getting to where you want to be, but that's what makes I don't know, like that's what makes life fun is learning, applying. It's almost like you're your own like video game. A lot of people I see that are consumed by outside things, like parties, status, sport, even sports. I was consumed by sports. I played sports. I love sports, but it's just so much more fun to be your own person and to do things like for you that contribute to the world and that just be a bigger part of yourself. It's so much more fun building a company or working to do something bigger than yourself than it is to, gossip about what happened at the frat party yesterday or, you know, how much money I'm going to be in debt or what am I going to do? Who am I going to work for? Like, what's going to look best on my resume? Like, all that's kind of bullshit. Um, I don't know. I just kind of I felt that message in my
Yeah.
heart a little bit. So I just wanted to get that out there.
No, yeah, that's definitely a good point. I've been talking to a couple of friends here and there, and I actually just got my friends all Rich Dad Poor Dad, all my four friends here.
Too good.
But yeah, I gave all my friends the book because I just felt like if I'm doing this online and stuff, I think it's important to translate that into my relationships in person and stuff. And we've also just been having a lot of conversations about like what after college and like what they want to do. And obviously everyone's doing something different, majoring in something different, but um just investing in yourself and thinking about the future and not thinking about things that don't matter in this moment right now. But yeah, that will be the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening or watching. And if you have any questions for us or have any recommendations for what topics we could do, please let us know. It helps us a lot. But yeah,
All
we'll
right.
see you guys next time.
See you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.